The first thing I noticed about the Blackwood estate was the silence. Not peaceful silence, the expensive kind, bought with high walls, sprawling grounds, and enough money to keep the real world at arm's length. My shoes crunched on the immaculate gravel driveway as I approached the mansion, my heartbeat drumming against my ribs. I clutched my worn leather purse tighter, feeling painfully aware of its scuffed corners and faded stitching. The employment agency had warned me this was a high-profile client. But nothing had prepared me for this. A modern fortress of glass and stone perched on the edge of Lake Michigan, its windows reflecting the gray October sky like cold, watchful eyes. "Just breathe, Elena," I whispered to myself. "It's just another nanny position." But it wasn't. Not with what they were offering to pay. 3 times my usual rate, health insurance, and a private suite in the East Wing. After 6 months of barely making rent, eating ramen noodles, and dodging calls from debt collectors, it felt like winning the lottery. The massive front door swung open before I could ring the bell. A woman in her 50s with a tight silver bun and sharper eyes stood there, clipboard in hand. "Ms. Vasquez?" Her voice matched her appearance, efficient, no nonsense. "Yes, I'm Elena Vasquez. I have an appointment with Mrs. Blackwood about the nanny position. Mrs. Peterson, head of household staff." She gave me a swift once-over that made me grateful I'd splurged on dry cleaning my one interview outfit. "You're 7 minutes early. Follow me." The interior of the house swallowed me whole. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than my entire education. My sensible heels clicked loudly in the hushed atmosphere as I followed Mrs. Peterson down a hallway that seemed to stretch forever. "Mrs. Blackwood is not in residence," she said, without turning. "She spends most of her time at their Monaco property since the separation. You'll be interviewing with Mr. Renzo, the child's uncle and current guardian." My stomach tightened. This wasn't what the agency had told me. "I thought I'd be meeting with the child's mother." "Plans change, Ms. Vasquez, especially in this household." Something in her tone suggested this was a frequent occurrence. "Mr. Renzo has final say in all matters regarding Sophia, the 5-year-old girl I'd be caring for if I got the job. The agency had been vague about the family situation, only saying the parents were separated, and the father traveled extensively for business." Mrs. Peterson stopped before a set of double doors and knocked twice. "Wait here, I'll announce you." Left alone in the hallway, I fought the urge to flee. Everything about this place felt wrong. Too perfect, too controlled. Like a beautiful cage, I checked my reflection in a gilded mirror, tucking a stray curl back into my bun, wishing I'd worn something less ordinary. The doors opened, and Mrs. Peterson motioned me in. "Ms. Vasquez, sir." I stepped into what appeared to be a study. Walls lined with books, a massive desk by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. The morning light silhouetted a man standing with his back to me, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. Something about his stance, shoulders broad under his tailored suit, head slightly tilted, sent an unexpected shiver of familiarity through me. I stood awkwardly, clutching my resume folder, as Mrs. Peterson closed the doors behind me. The man finished his call without any acknowledgement of my presence, still facing the window. When he finally turned, the folder slipped from my fingers, pages scattering across the polished floor. No. It couldn't be. Dominic Renzo. 5 years older, but unmistakable. The same olive skin, the same intense dark eyes that once looked at me like I was his entire world. The same lips that whispered promises against my skin in the darkness of his college apartment. The man I'd once loved, the man who disappeared without a trace the day after I told him I was pregnant. "Elena." My name in his mouth wasn't a question. He'd known. He'd known I was coming. I struggled to breathe, to speak, to do anything but stare. This was impossible. Dominic wasn't Mr. Renzo. He wasn't some wealthy businessman with a lakeside mansion and a motherless niece. He was the scholarship student I'd tutored in English Lit. The boy with the mysterious family back in Italy he never discussed. The first man I'd ever loved. "You look well," he said, as if we'd bumped into each other at a coffee shop, as if 5 years of silence didn't stretch between us like an ocean. His accent had faded, replaced by the cool, measured tones of someone accustomed to authority. "What is this?" I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "Some kind of sick joke?" He moved toward me, and I flinched back instinctively. Something flashed in his eyes. Hurt? Anger. Before his expression settled back into unreadable calm. "Please sit." He gestured to the chairs across from his desk, then bent to gather my scattered resume pages with a fluid grace that reminded me of how he used to move on the soccer field. I'd rather stand. My legs were shaking, but pride kept me upright. "What am I doing here, Dominic?" "You're here for a job interview, Ms. Vasquez." The formality in his tone cut deeper than rage would have. "For the position of nanny to my niece, Sophia." "Your niece." I repeated the words, testing them for lies. "Yes." He placed my resume neatly on his desk. "My brother Marco's daughter." The world tilted beneath me. Marco. Dominic had mentioned a brother once or twice, always with a strange mix of admiration and resentment. But this didn't make sense. None of it did. "I don't believe you," I said flatly. "This isn't coincidence. You knew it was me applying for this job." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I own the employment agency, Elena." The implication hit me like a physical blow. Every job application I'd submitted, every interview I'd failed to get, the strange 6 months of unemployment after a career of steady work, all engineered to bring me here, desperate enough to accept this position without asking too many questions. "Why?" I demanded, heat rising to my face. "After 5 years of nothing, you walk out on me when I needed you most, and now you—" "What? Want to offer me a job out of charity? Ease your conscience?" His expression hardened. "You have impressive qualifications. Sophia needs stability, structure, someone with your background in child development." "Stop it." My hands curled into fists at my sides. "Don't pretend this is professional. Don't you dare." He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair, longer now than when I'd known him, the college boy replaced by this stranger in an expensive suit. Perhaps I should have been more direct. "But would you have come if you knew it was me?" "No." The word fell like stone between us. "Exactly." He moved to a sideboard and poured 2 glasses of water, offering one to me. I didn't take it. "Elena, I understand your anger." "You understand nothing." My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Hated that after 5 years he could still affect me this way. "You have no idea what I went through." Something darkened in his expression. "I know more than you think." Before I could respond, a soft knock interrupted us. The door opened and Mrs. Peterson appeared with a small girl half hidden behind her skirts. Sophia, I presumed, dark curls, olive skin, and wide brown eyes that darted curiously between Dominic and me. "I apologize for the interruption, sir, but Miss Sophia insisted on meeting her potential new nanny." Dominic's entire demeanor changed, softening as he crouched to the child's level. "Sophia, what did we say about interrupting work meetings?" The little girl stepped forward, chin raised with a familiar stubbornness that made my heart twist. "You said it's rude unless it's an emergency. And this is an emergency because Bella had a nightmare, and only a nanny knows how to fix bad dreams." She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest. Despite everything, I felt a smile tug at my lips. Dominic glanced up, caught it, and for a moment, I glimpsed the boy I'd once known in his eyes. "Well," he said, "perhaps Ms. Vasquez can demonstrate her nightmare-fixing abilities." Sophia turned those big eyes to me, and I found myself kneeling without conscious decision, professional instincts taking over. "Hello, Sophia. I'm Elena." I extended my hand, which she solemnly shook. "And who's this?" I nodded to the rabbit. "This is Bella. She's scared of thunder." Sophia thrust the toy toward me. "Can you make her not scared anymore?" I took the stuffed animal gently. "Well, I know a special trick for scared rabbits. May I?" I gestured to her ear, and she nodded. I leaned in and whispered just loud enough for her to hear. "Sometimes when we're scared, the bravest thing we can do is admit it. Should we tell Bella it's okay to be scared sometimes?" Sophia's eyes widened. She nodded and took the rabbit back, whispering to it seriously. Then she looked up at me with a smile that punched the air from my lungs. "She feels better now. Will you be my new nanny, please?" The question hung in the air between us, layered with implications Sophia couldn't possibly understand. Behind her, Dominic watched me with unreadable eyes. I felt trapped in a current pulling me toward a shore I'd fought years to avoid. Sophia, why don't you let Mrs. Peterson take you back to your lessons? Dominic said gently. Ms. Vasquez and I need to finish our grown-up talk. The little girl pouted, but allowed herself to be led away, turning at the door to give me a small wave that twisted something deep in my chest. When the door closed, the tension rushed back, filling the space between us. You're good with her, Dominic said quietly. I'm good at my job. I straightened, gathering what remained of my composure, a job I'm no longer interested in. Whatever game you're playing, leave me out of it. I turned to leave, but his next words froze me in place. She doesn't know about our daughter, Elena. The world stopped. The careful walls I'd built around that pain cracked instantly. I turned slowly, vision blurring. How dare you? I whispered. How dare you speak of her? Alessandra, he said, and hearing my daughter's name on his lips felt like violence. Born at Chicago Memorial, 6 pounds, 3 ounces. She had your eyes. Stop. The word tore from my throat. She lived for 37 minutes. Congenital heart defect. You named her after your grandmother. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. No one knew these details. I'd made sure of it. Moved cities. Changed phone numbers. Buried the truth so deep even my parents thought I'd simply moved for a job opportunity. How do you know that? My voice sounded distant, belonging to someone else. I told you. I know more than you think. He moved toward me, and this time I was too numb to step back. Elena, there are things you don't understand. Things I couldn't tell you then. 5 years, I said, my voice hollow. 5 years of silence, and now you want to explain? Now that you've manipulated me into coming here? His jaw tightened. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Dominic. Anger was safer than pain, and I clung to it. You chose to leave when I told you I was pregnant. You chose to disappear. To protect you, he said, with such quiet conviction that I almost laughed. From what? Fatherhood? His eyes flashed. From my family. From who I really am. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. And who are you, really? Instead of answering, he moved to his desk and pressed a button. Mrs. Peterson, please show Ms. Vasquez to the guest suite. She'll be staying the night. Panic flared. I'm not staying anywhere. I'm leaving. It's nearly dark, and the next train isn't until morning. His tone left no room for argument. You can leave first thing tomorrow if that's what you want. But tonight, we have things to discuss. The door opened, and Mrs. Peterson appeared. Dominic's expression softened just slightly. Please, Elena. One night. For the answers you deserve. I should have walked out. Should have called a rideshare, found a hotel. Put as much distance as possible between myself and this man who'd shattered my heart once before. But the mention of Alessandra, the daughter I'd held for 37 minutes, the child we'd made together, had ripped open wounds I thought had scarred over. One night, I said finally. And then I never want to see you again. Something like pain flickered across his face, quickly masked. As you wish. As I followed Mrs. Peterson out, the weight of his gaze burned into my back. I'd come for a job interview and found ghosts instead. The ghost of the man I'd once loved. The ghost of the life we might have had. And worst of all, the ghost of the daughter we'd lost, hovering in the space between us like an accusation neither of us could answer. What I didn't know then was that ghosts were the least of what waited for me in the Blackwood mansion, and that by morning, everything I thought I knew about Dominic Renzo, and myself, would be torn apart. The guest suite was larger than my entire apartment. Cream-colored walls, plush carpet that swallowed my footsteps, a king-sized bed with sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Through French doors, a private balcony overlooked the darkening lake, waves turning silver under the rising moon. Mrs. Peterson had shown me in with brisk efficiency, pointing out the adjoining bathroom, toiletries in the cabinet, fresh towels on the warmer, the small kitchenette, coffee, tea, and light refreshments, and the closet, robes and nightwear, if required. Dinner is at 7 in the main dining room, she'd informed me. Mr. Renzo expects your company. Before I could protest, she'd added, Miss Sophia will be present, effectively neutralizing any objection. Then, she'd left me alone with my tumultuous thoughts and a suitcase I hadn't packed. Now I stood at the balcony doors, watching my reflection ghost against the night beyond. 5 years of carefully constructed normalcy, shattered in an afternoon. 5 years of telling myself I was over Dominic Renzo, proven a lie with a single look. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, closing my eyes against the burn of tears. I would not cry, not here, not now, not over him. My phone chimed with a text from my roommate Rachel. Everything okay? Got the job? What could I possibly say? Surprise? The mysterious rich client is the man who abandoned me when I was pregnant, and he somehow knows everything about our dead baby. I settled for complicated situation, staying overnight to sort things out. Call you tomorrow. Her reply came quickly. Sounds intriguing. Don't do anything I wouldn't do if only she knew. A soft knock at the door startled me. Expecting Mrs. Peterson. I was unprepared for Sophia's small face peering around the edge when I opened it. Are you coming to dinner? She asked, clutching Bella the rabbit. Uncle Dom said I should escort you because you might get lost. This house is very big. Despite everything, I smiled. Very thoughtful of him, and yes, I would love your escort. She slipped her small hand into mine with immediate trust that made my throat tighten. As we walked, she kept up a steady stream of chatter, pointing out important landmarks. That's the scary painting room, I don't go in there, and offering dire warnings. Don't ever touch Uncle Dom's desk stuff, or Mrs. Peterson gets her angry eyebrows. I found myself studying her features, searching for hints of Dominic. The shape of her eyes, perhaps, the determined set of her small jaw. But there was something else there, too. Something that tugged at my memory in ways I couldn't quite place. Uncle Dom says you're super smart, she informed me, as we descended a grand staircase, and that you know how to make bad dreams go away. I have a few tricks, I admitted. She nodded solemnly. I have bad dreams sometimes, about the accident. My steps faltered. What accident, Sophia? Her face clouded. The one my mommy and daddy were in. Uncle Dom says they went to heaven, but I don't remember them very much. She looked up at me with those huge eyes. Do you think that's bad? That I don't remember? I crouched to her level, heart breaking for this small orphan. No, sweetheart. You were very young. It's not bad at all. That's what Uncle Dom says too. She brightened. He has pictures of them everywhere so I won't forget their faces, and he tells me stories about my daddy when they were little. Before I could respond, we arrived at the dining room where Dominic waited, standing as we entered. He'd changed into dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that reminded me painfully of college days, of studying late in the library. His foot nudging mine under the table, his smile when I'd explain a concept he'd finally grasped. I see my escort service was successful, he said, his eyes never leaving my face. Sophia was an excellent guide. I released the child's hand reluctantly. She pointed out all the important landmarks. Did you show Ms. Vasquez the scary painting room? He asked, helping Sophia into a booster seat. Yep, but we didn't go in. She arranged Bella carefully beside her plate. I told her about the angry eyebrows too. Dominic's lips twitched. Very thorough. I took the seat across from him, hyper-aware of his presence. A staff member I hadn't met appeared with a bottle of wine, pouring for Dominic and looking at me questioningly. Just water, please, I said. I needed a clear head for whatever revelations awaited after Sophia's bedtime. Dinner was surreal. Sophia chattering happily about her day, Dominic responding with gentle attention. Me watching this domestic scene like an anthropologist observing an unfamiliar ritual. The Dominic I'd known had been passionate, impulsive, always in motion. This man moved with deliberate care, his attention split between his niece and the phone that occasionally buzzed beside his plate. Twice he took calls, stepping just outside the doorway to speak in rapid Italian. Both times he returned slightly tenser, the lines around his mouth deeper. After dessert, ice cream for Sophia, espresso for the adults. Dominic checked his watch. Bath time, Piccola. Mrs. Peterson is waiting upstairs. Sophia's face fell. But I want Elena to do it. She knows about bad dreams. Dominic glanced at me, eyebrow raised in silent question. I shouldn't. I should maintain distance, protect myself from forming any attachment to this child. But Sophia's hopeful expression undid me completely. I'd be happy to help with bedtime, I found myself saying. Sophia's triumphant smile almost made it worth the flash of satisfaction in Dominic's eyes. Upstairs in Sophia's room, a wonderland of pink and purple with a canopy bed and more stuffed animals than a toy store, I supervised teeth brushing, helped with pajamas, and listened to her prayers, which included blessings for Uncle Dom, Mrs. Peterson, all my toys, and Elena, my new friend. Story? She asked hopefully, climbing into bed. I settled beside her. Just a short one. She handed me a worn copy of Goodnight Moon, and I read it slowly, watching her eyelids grow heavy. When I finished, she was nearly asleep. Elena? She murmured. Yes, sweetie? Are you going to be my new nanny? The question pierced me. I don't know, Sophia. I hope so. Her eyes drifted closed. Uncle Dom seems less sad when you're here. I sat frozen, staring at her peaceful face, wondering what this child could possibly understand about adult sadness. After ensuring she was truly asleep, I quietly left the room, only to find Dominic waiting in the hallway, leaning against the wall with arms crossed. You're good with her, he said softly. You mentioned that earlier. I brushed past him, heading for the stairs. We need to talk, Dominic. Yes, we do. He followed me down. My study? I nodded stiffly, bracing myself for whatever came next. In the study, a fire now burned in the large hearth, casting dancing shadows across the book-lined walls. Dominic closed the door behind us and moved to pour 2 drinks at the sideboard. I don't want alcohol, I said. It's just scotch, Elena. He held a tumbler out to me, and trust me, you might want it. Something in his tone made me take the glass, though I didn't drink. Dominic settled into one of the leather chairs by the fire, gesturing for me to take the other. For a long moment, he stared into the flames, the light carving shadows beneath his cheekbones, highlighting the changes 5 years had wrought. A small scar near his temple that hadn't been there before, lines at the corners of his eyes that spoke of strain more than age. I need to know how you found out about Alessandra, I finally said, unable to bear the silence. I never put her name on any public record. I made sure of it. His eyes met mine, dark and unreadable. I was there, Elena. The words hit me like a physical blow. That's impossible. 3rd floor of Chicago Memorial, room 307. You were in labor for 19 hours. There was a complication. They took you for an emergency C-section. My hands trembled around the untouched scotch. No, you weren't there. I was alone. You weren't alone. His voice roughened. I was in the waiting room the entire time. I paid for a private room under a different name. I made sure you had the best specialists. The room seemed to tilt. I don't understand. Why wouldn't you come to you? Bitterness edged his words. Hold your hand? Be there when our daughter took her first and last breath? Because I couldn't, Elena. Because the moment I stepped into that hospital room, I would have put both of you in danger. What danger? I set the glass down before I dropped it. What are you talking about? He took a long swallow of his scotch, then set it aside. My family isn't what you thought, what I let you believe. You barely spoke about your family, for good reason. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. The scholarship student you tutored, the normal college boy you fell in love with, he was a carefully constructed lie. Cold dread pooled in my stomach. Who are you, then? My full name is Dominic Alessandro Renzo. My father was Salvatore Renzo, head of the Renzo crime family in Chicago until his death 3 years ago. His eyes never left mine. The business degree was real. The poverty was not. I was being groomed to take over the family business. All of it. Legitimate and otherwise. The words hung in the air between us. Impossible to process. Crime family. Salvatore Renzo. I remembered the name from news headlines years ago. Organized crime, racketeering charges, mysterious deaths of witnesses. You're telling me you're... what? In the Mafia? The question came out as a half laugh of disbelief. I'm telling you, I was born into it. No hint of humor touched his face. And that when I met you, when I fell in love with you, I started to believe I could escape it. My mind raced back to our time together, his mysterious phone calls, the weekends he'd disappear for family obligations, the way he'd tense when certain names were mentioned in the news, the cash he always seemed to have despite his scholarship student status. The day you told me you were pregnant, he continued, was the same day my father discovered our relationship. He'd had me followed for months, suspicious of my increased absences. His jaw tightened. He made it very clear what would happen if I didn't end things with you immediately. So you just left? Anger flared, burning away shock. You could have warned me, explained, and you would have what? Understood? Accepted? He shook his head. My father didn't make threats, Elena. He made promises, and he never broke them. What exactly did he threaten? Dominic's eyes darkened. You. Your family. Our child. He had pictures of your parents' house in Oregon, your sister's college dorm room. His voice dropped. He said he would teach me a lesson about divided loyalties. I'd seen what his lessons looked like. I sat in stunned silence, memories reshuffling themselves. The strange car I'd sometimes noticed following me after Dominic disappeared. The break-in at my apartment where nothing was taken. The anonymous payment of my hospital bills. So you've been watching me all this time. Protecting you, he corrected, from a distance. And now? I gestured around us. Your father is dead, yet here we are. You manipulated me into coming here. Why? He stood abruptly, moving to the window. Because things have changed. Because Sophia needs you. Sophia needs a nanny, not specifically me. She needs someone I can trust absolutely. He turned back. And despite everything, Elena, you're the only person who fits that description. That's rich, I said bitterly. You trust me, but kept me in the dark about everything. Your family, your life, even our daughter's death. Do you have any idea what it was like, Dominic? To go through that alone? Pain flashed across his features. I do. I was there, remember? Watching from shadows, unable to hold you. Unable to mourn openly. Do you think that was easy? At least you had a choice. The words burst from me. I didn't get one. Neither did I. His control slipped, voice rising. My father made that choice for both of us the moment he discovered you existed. We stared at each other, the years of pain and secrets stretching between us like a chasm. Why now? I asked finally. After 5 years, why bring me here now? His expression changed, closing off. Marco, my brother, Sophia's father, was murdered 3 months ago. His wife Anna died in the same car bombing. Horror washed through me. My God, I'm so sorry. Before he died, Marco transferred significant assets to Sophia's name, made her his heir. Dominic's voice was clinically detached now. These weren't just legitimate businesses. There's been interest in who controls those assets now. And that's you? As her guardian, yes, temporarily. He picked up his scotch again. There are people who aren't happy about that arrangement. Understanding dawned, cold and terrible. You think Sophia's in danger. I know she is. His eyes met mine, fierce with protective fury that made my breath catch. There have been 2 attempts already. My gaze flew to the door, as if I could see through it to the sleeping child upstairs. Attempts to what? Kidnap her? Or worse? He drained his glass. I've increased security, moved her here from our main residence. But I need someone with her constantly. Someone I can trust implicitly. Someone with no connections to our world who won't be recognized or anticipated. Someone like me. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. You want me to use me as what? Human shield? Camouflage? I want you to be her nanny, to care for her, like you would any child. His expression softened. The fact that you'll be nearly impossible to connect to me or my family is a significant advantage. I laughed without humor. So, I get to paint and play princess and do bedtime stories, all while serving as unwitting protection against your enemies. Does Sophia know her life is in danger? She knows only that her parents died in an accident, that she's living with her uncle while things get sorted out. He moved toward me. She's 5 years old, Elena. I won't steal her childhood by filling it with fear. I stood, needing distance between us. This is insane. You're insane if you think I'd agree to this. I'm offering you a job, Elena. A well-paid one, with a child who already adores you. A job with the mob, I hissed. With me, he corrected quietly. Not the organization. I've been distancing myself from those aspects of the family business since my father died. Oh, just distancing. How comforting. I paced to the fireplace. And these people trying to hurt Sophia, they'll respect that distinction, will they? Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. No one will hurt Sophia while I'm alive. The absolute conviction in his voice sent a chill through me. This wasn't the boy I'd known. This was someone else entirely, someone capable of violence I couldn't begin to imagine. I should leave, I whispered. First thing tomorrow, just like we agreed. He watched me for a long moment. That's your choice. But before you decide, there's something you should know. My heart sank. What now? The break-in at your apartment 5 years ago wasn't random. He spoke carefully, measuring each word. My father sent men to ensure you wouldn't keep our child. When they found out you'd miscarried, they left without harming you. The room spun. I gripped the mantle for support. Are you saying... I'm saying my father was a monster. Dominic's voice was flat, and that when I found out what he'd planned, I began working against him, undermining him. It took years, but eventually, I made sure he could never hurt anyone again. The implication hung in the air between us. You had your own father killed? I could barely voice the question. His expression never changed. I made a choice, Elena, the only one I could live with. I stared at this stranger wearing Dominic's face, this man who spoke of murder as calmly as discussing the weather. What had happened to the passionate boy who'd read poetry to me under stars, who dreamed of traveling the world together? I don't know you, I whispered. You're the only one who ever did. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, different from college days, but underneath, the same skin scent I remembered. The man you loved was real, Elena. That was never a lie. And this? I gestured between us, voice breaking. What is this? Manipulation? Blackmail? Using our past to control me? This is me trying to protect the only family I have left. His voice dropped lower. Sophia, and you. I'm not your family. The words hurt to say, like glass in my throat. You were carrying my child. His eyes burned into mine. Whatever else has happened, that makes you family to me. It always will. A knock at the door saved me from having to respond. Dominic stepped back, composing himself instantly as Mrs. Peterson entered. Sir, there's a situation that requires your attention, she said, her eyes flicking briefly to me. Something passed between them, unspoken, but clear. I'll be right there. Dominic turned back to me. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Please, Elena, don't make any decisions tonight. After they left, I stood alone in the study, mind racing with impossible revelations. Dominic, heir to a crime family. Sophia, orphaned by violence. Myself, apparently still in danger by association. I should leave immediately. Call a cab, find a hotel, put as much distance as possible between myself and this house of shadows. But as I climbed the stairs toward my room, I passed Sophia's door, slightly ajar, a nightlight casting star patterns across her ceiling. I paused, peering in to see her sleeping peacefully. Bella clutched to her chest. An innocent caught in a war she didn't understand, just as I had been 5 years ago. I continued to my room, closing the door behind me. Sleep would not come easily tonight, not with the ghost of what might have been haunting me. Our daughter, our life together, the future we'd planned in whispers. Now, standing at the window watching security guards patrol the grounds below, I wondered what future awaited me if I stayed. Danger, certainly. Heartbreak. Almost inevitably. But also, perhaps, a chance to protect a child who needed me. A chance to finally understand the truth of what had torn my life apart 5 years ago. A chance to face the man I'd never stopped loving, no matter how desperately I'd tried. Morning arrived with pale October sunlight filtering through the curtains I'd forgotten to close. For one disoriented moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then reality crashed back. The Blackwood mansion, Dominic, Sophia. The impossible revelations of the night before. I sat up, running a hand through my tangled hair. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Rachel and a text. Should I be worried? Call me. I texted back quickly. I'm fine. Complicated situation, but safe. We'll call later with details. The reply came instantly. You better? Need rescue? Despite everything, I smiled. Not yet. Stand by. After a quick shower, I found clothes laid out on the bed. Not my own, but clearly selected with my size and style in mind. The implications of this, that Dominic knew my measurements, my preferences, sent another wave of unease through me. How closely had he been watching all these years? I chose to wear yesterday's interview outfit instead. Downstairs, I followed the scent of coffee to a sun-filled breakfast room where Sophia sat eating pancakes shaped like animals. Her face lit up when she saw me. Elena, Uncle Dom made elephant pancakes. She pointed proudly at her plate. Do you want one? I glanced around, but there was no sign of Dominic, just a uniformed staff member refreshing a coffee carafe. Good morning, Miss Sophia. I'd love some coffee, thank you. I smiled at the staff member, who nodded and poured me a cup. Uncle Dom had to go to work early, Sophia informed me, cutting her elephant's trunk with serious concentration. But Mrs. Peterson says you're staying all day to play with me. I nearly choked on my coffee. Did she? Uh-huh. We're going to feed the ducks and do art and maybe bake cookies if you want. She looked up hopefully. Do you want to? Before I could formulate a response that wouldn't crush her enthusiasm, while clarifying I had made no such commitment, Mrs. Peterson appeared in the doorway. Good morning, Ms. Vasquez. I trust you slept well. Her tone suggested sleep was a luxury I shouldn't have expected. Well enough, thank you. Mr. Renzo asked me to inform you he's been called away on urgent business. He requests that you remain at the estate until his return this evening. She handed me an envelope. Your compensation for today, regardless of your final decision regarding the position. Inside was a check for an amount that made me blink twice to confirm I wasn't seeing extra zeros. This is excessive for one day's work. Mrs. Peterson's expression never changed. Mr. Renzo values his niece's security and happiness. The amount reflects that priority. The implication was clear. This wasn't just payment for childcare. It was payment for silence, for discretion about everything I'd learned. I haven't agreed to stay, I said, though even to my own ears, it sounded weak with Sophia watching eagerly. The car that brought you isn't available until this evening, Mrs. Peterson replied smoothly. Of course I can call a taxi if you prefer to leave immediately. A perfect trap. Leave now, disappointing a child already traumatized by loss, or stay and be further entangled in Dominic's web. I looked at Sophia's hopeful face and felt my resolve crumbling. Feeding ducks sounds fun, I said finally. But this doesn't mean I'm accepting the position permanently. Sophia cheered while Mrs. Peterson merely nodded, as if my capitulation had been a foregone conclusion. The day passed in a blur of small delights. Sophia's laughter as ducks swarmed for breadcrumbs, her serious concentration while painting watercolor flowers, her flour-covered face as we baked chocolate chip cookies. For hours at a time, I could almost forget the dangerous reality surrounding this innocent child. Almost. Security personnel maintained a visible presence throughout the grounds. The gates were monitored by cameras and armed guards. Twice, Mrs. Peterson took calls that left her tight-lipped and tense, throwing concerned glances toward Sophia. During Sophia's afternoon nap, I explored the mansion, noting security keypads on certain doors, the way staff members watched me with barely disguised suspicion. In the library, I found family photographs, Dominic and a man who must be Marco, arms around each other's shoulders at what appeared to be a wedding. Sophia as a baby with a beautiful dark-haired woman. Formal portraits of older men with Dominic's eyes and jawline. A family business indeed. I was studying a photograph of Dominic in graduation robes, taken during our time together, though I was notably absent from the image. When a voice behind me made me jump. He doesn't smile like that anymore. I turned to find an elegant woman in her early 30s watching me. Unlike Mrs. Peterson's starched formality, she exuded casual confidence in designer jeans and a simple blouse. I'm Gabriela Vega. She extended a manicured hand. Dom's cousin and Sophia's godmother. I shook her hand warily. Elena Vasquez. Oh, I know exactly who you are. Her smile was knowing. The famous Elena, Dom's college sweetheart. The casual mention of our past relationship confirmed my suspicions. I wasn't just known to Dominic's inner circle. I was a topic of discussion. I didn't realize I was famous. Gabriella laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Let's just say my cousin hasn't been the same since you. Trust me, in this family, that makes you legendary. She gestured to the sitting area. Join me? Mrs. P said Sophia's down for another hour at least. Against my better judgment, I followed her to a pair of armchairs by the window. So, she said, studying me openly, you're considering becoming Sophia's nanny. I haven't decided yet, but you spent the day with her. Gabriella's gaze was shrewd. And from what I hear, she's already attached to you. Children attach easily at her age, I said carefully. It doesn't mean I'm the right person for the job. Because of Dom? Or because of what his family does? I tensed. Both. I'm not comfortable being involved with this world. Yet, here you are. She leaned forward. Elena, can I be blunt? Sophia needs stability, security, someone who cares about her, not just the paycheck. I work with children because I care about them, I said stiffly. But caring isn't always enough, not when there's danger involved, which is precisely why it needs to be someone Dom trusts absolutely. Gabriella's expression softened. Do you know how rare that is, trust, in our world? I'm beginning to understand, I admitted. When Marco and Anna died, she paused, composing herself. Dom changed, became harder, colder. The only one who can still reach him is Sophia. And now, perhaps you. Me? I shook my head. I haven't seen him in 5 years. He's a stranger now. Is he? Her gaze was penetrating. Because the man who's been keeping a protective eye on you for 5 years doesn't sound like a stranger to me. Sounds more like someone who never stopped caring. Before I could respond, a staff member appeared at the door. Ms. Vega, the call you were expecting. Gabriella stood. Think about what I said, Elena, and for what it's worth, I hope you stay. Sophia deserves someone like you in her life. And Dom? She smiled sadly. Well, he deserves a second chance too, don't you think? After she left, I remained in the library, thoughts churning. Everyone here seemed determined to push me toward accepting this position, toward re-engaging with Dominic. What they didn't understand was the complexity of emotions he still evoked in me. Anger, betrayal, grief, and beneath it all, a stubborn ember of what we'd once shared. I was still sitting there when Sophia found me, hair mussed from sleep, Bella dangling from one hand. You look sad, she observed, climbing onto the chair with me. Do you miss your home? I smoothed her curls. A little bit. I miss my old home too sometimes, she confided, but Uncle Dom says home isn't a place, it's people who love you. My throat tightened. Your uncle is very wise, she nodded solemnly. He says you're the wisest person he knows. That's why he wants you to stay with us forever. Forever. The word hung in the air, laden with impossible weight. Sophia, I said carefully. I don't know if I can stay forever. I have my own life, my own home. Her face fell. But don't you like us? I like you very much, I assured her. But grown-up decisions are complicated sometimes. She considered this, her small face serious. Uncle Dom says complicated just means you have to try harder, like my shoelaces. Despite everything, I laughed. He has a point. A commotion downstairs interrupted us. Raised voices, hurried footsteps. Sophia tensed, pressing closer to my side as Mrs. Peterson appeared in the doorway, face tight with strain. Ms. Vasquez, please take Sophia to her room immediately. Stay there until someone comes for you. What's happening? I stood, lifting Sophia into my arms instinctively. Mr. Renzo has been injured. He's on his way here now. Her professional mask slipped, revealing genuine fear. Please hurry. Sophia clung to me, eyes wide. Is Uncle Dom okay? Your uncle is very strong, I said, heart racing as I carried her upstairs. I'm sure he'll be fine. In her room, I read stories, played games, anything to distract her from the activity below. doors slamming, urgent voices, the distinctive wail of what sounded like an ambulance but couldn't be, not here where privacy was paramount. It was nearly 2 hours before Gabriella appeared, her face pale but composed. "Sophia, sweetheart, your uncle wants to see you." She smiled reassuringly. "Just for a few minutes, okay? Then bedtime." "Is he hurt bad?" Sophia whispered. "He got a little banged up at work, that's all." Gabriella held out her hand. "Elena will come too, won't you?" It wasn't really a question. I followed them down a corridor to a wing I hadn't explored, into what appeared to be a master suite. Dominic lay propped against pillows on an enormous bed, his torso wrapped in bandages, a nasty cut along his jawline. His eyes, slightly glassy from what I assumed were painkillers, found mine immediately, something like relief washing over his features before he focused on Sophia. "There's my brave girl," he said, voice rough but strong. Sophia approached cautiously. "Did you get an OE, Uncle Dom?" "Just a scratch, Piccola." He reached for her hand. "Nothing to worry about. Promise you won't go to heaven like Mommy and Daddy?" Her voice trembled. Pain that had nothing to do with his injuries crossed Dominic's face. "I promise, Sophia. I'm not going anywhere." She nodded, visibly relieved. "Elena took care of me all day. We fed ducks and made cookies and everything." "Did she?" His gaze returned to me. "I'm glad." Gabriella stepped forward. "Okay, Sophia. Time to say goodnight. Uncle Dom needs to rest." After extracting a promise from Dominic to read 2 stories tomorrow night to make up for missing bedtime, Sophia allowed herself to be led away, leaving me alone with the injured man who had once been my everything. "You should go," I said quietly. "You're obviously in pain. Stay." He shifted, wincing. "Please." I hesitated in the doorway, torn between the urge to flee and a treacherous concern for his well-being. What happened? Business disagreement. His attempt at a wry smile turned to a grimace. "That's not an answer, Dominic," he sighed, gesturing to a chair beside the bed. Someone who disagreed with my vision for the future of our family enterprises expressed their opinion. With bullets. I remained standing. "This is what you want to bring Sophia's nanny into? Gunfights and business disagreements that end in bloodshed? This is what I'm trying to protect Sophia from." His voice hardened despite his injuries. "What I want to protect you from, by bringing me directly into the line of fire?" I crossed my arms. "That's some backward logic. By keeping you close, where I can ensure your safety." He shifted again, a flash of pain crossing his features. "Elena, please sit. I'm not in great shape for looking up at you right now." Against my better judgment, I took the chair. Up close, his injuries looked worse. Bruising spreading across his collarbone, visible above the bandages, a feverish sheen to his skin. "Shouldn't you be in a hospital? We have a private medical staff." His eyes never left my face. "Less questions that way." "Of course you do." I shook my head in disbelief. "This is insanity, Dominic. All of it. This is reality. My reality." His voice softened. "And it could have been yours, if things had been different. If our daughter had lived. If my father hadn't discovered us." The mention of Alessandra sent a familiar ache through me. But things weren't different. You left. She died. And now you want me to just, what? Pick up where we left off? Become part of your dangerous world? "I want you to care for an innocent child who adores you already." His gaze intensified. "And yes, I want you back in my life. Is that so hard to believe?" "Yes," I said bluntly. "It is. Because the Dominic I knew wouldn't be involved in whatever got you those injuries. He wouldn't be talking about family enterprises and private medical staff to avoid questions about bullet wounds. The Dominic you knew was real," he insisted, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. "But incomplete. I was hiding part of myself, yes, but what I felt for you, that was the truest thing in my life." A knock interrupted us as a man in a white coat entered, nodding to me briefly before turning to Dominic. "Time for another dose, sir." "Not yet." Dominic's tone was clipped. "Sir, with respect, you've lost blood and the risk of infection. Give us 10 minutes. Dominic cut him off. "Then you can drug me into oblivion if you want." The doctor looked like he wanted to argue, but simply nodded and withdrew. "You should listen to your doctor," I said. "I have more important things to do than sleep right now." His eyes held mine, like convincing you to stay, Dominic. I sighed, suddenly exhausted. This isn't fair. To anyone. You're asking me to uproot my life, to put myself in danger. I'm asking you to trust me, he interrupted. Like you once did. That trust didn't exactly work out well for me. Pain flickered across his face that had nothing to do with his physical injuries. I know I hurt you, more than I can ever make right, but I'm asking for a chance, Elena. Not for me, for Sophia. Don't use her as leverage, I said sharply. I'm stating facts. Sophia needs you. But if you want the whole truth, he took a labored breath, I need you too. Having you here, seeing you with her, it reminds me of everything I fought for. Everything I lost. You didn't lose me, I said quietly. You left me. To save you. Frustration edged his voice. My father would have killed you, Elena. I made the only choice I could. And now? I challenged. Your father is gone, by your own admission. What's stopping you from walking away from all this? I gestured around us. The danger, the violence, the criminal empire. He was silent for a long moment. It's not that simple. It never is with you. I stood, needing distance. That's the problem, Dominic. Nothing is ever simple. There's always some shadowy threat, some reason to keep secrets, some justification for more violence. Welcome to my world. Bitterness edged his words. You think I wanted this life, this legacy? I was born into it, Elena, groomed for it from childhood. And Sophia? Is that her future too? The question struck a nerve. His jaw tightened. No, never. Everything I've done since Marco died has been to secure a different path for her. A legitimate future. How? By eliminating your enemies one by one until no one's left to threaten her? I shook my head. Where does it end? It ends when she's safe, he said simply. When both of you are safe. The door opened again before I could respond. The doctor returned, accompanied by Gabriella, whose expression suggested this was not a social visit. Time's up, she said firmly. Doctor's orders. Dominic looked like he wanted to argue, but conceded with a nod. We'll continue this tomorrow, if I'm still here, I reminded him. Something flashed in his eyes, desperation perhaps. Elena. Rest, I cut him off. We'll talk in the morning. I followed Gabriella out, emotions churning. In the hallway, she turned to me, arms crossed. He's a stubborn ass when he's injured, she said bluntly. Worse than usual. Despite everything, I almost smiled. He was stubborn in college too. Some things don't change, she sighed. Look, I know you're planning to leave, and I understand why. But will you at least stay tonight? He'll rest better knowing you and Sophia are safe under the same roof. The manipulation was obvious but effective. I'll stay tonight, I agreed reluctantly. But tomorrow you'll make whatever decision is right for you, she finished. Just don't make it out of fear, okay? Dom would never let anything happen to you or Sophia. He can't promise that, I said quietly. Today proved it. Her expression hardened. Today proved how far he'll go to protect what matters to him. The only reason he's injured is because he put himself between a bullet and one of his men. That's who he is, Elena. Loyalty to the bone. The image hit me with unexpected force. Dominic shielding someone with his own body. Taking a bullet meant for someone else. It aligned painfully well with the boy I'd known. The one who'd walk me to my car in rain or snow. Who'd stayed up all night when my roommate was sick. Who'd always put others first. Maybe some things really didn't change. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed with another message from Rachel. Seriously worried now. Call me or I'm sending search party. I hesitated, then dialed. Finally, she answered. Where the hell are you? It's complicated. I closed my eyes, the weight of secrets suddenly unbearable. Complicated how? Murder mansion complicated? Sex trafficking complicated? What? Despite everything, I laughed. No, nothing like that. Just, I ran into someone from my past. Someone? Her voice sharpened. Wait, the baby daddy? The one who disappeared? My throat tightened. Yeah. Holy shit. Rachel knew most of the story, the pregnancy, the abandonment, the loss. Not Alessandra's name or the details of those 37 minutes, but enough. Are you okay? Do you need me to come get you? I'm okay, I said, surprised to find it wasn't entirely a lie. Just processing. He's Sophia's uncle, the little girl I'd be taking care of. That's some cosmic bullshit right there. I could almost see her shaking her head. So what's the plan? Tell him to go to hell and come home? The question hung between us. What was the plan? I don't know yet, I admitted. It's more complicated than I thought. Because you still have feelings for him, she said flatly. Because there's a child involved, I corrected, ignoring the uncomfortable accuracy of her assessment. A sweet, innocent girl who's lost her parents and already getting attached to me. Not your responsibility, Rachel reminded me gently. You can't save every wounded bird, Elena. I know. I sighed. I'll figure it out tomorrow. I'm staying here tonight. It's late, and I'm exhausted. Call me first thing, she insisted, or I really will send that search party. After we hung up, I changed into the nightgown that had been left for me. Simple cotton, exactly my style. Another reminder of Dominic's unsettling knowledge of my preferences. I was about to turn out the light when a soft knock came at my door. Mrs. Peterson stood there, Sophia in her arms, eyes red from crying. I apologize for the interruption, Ms. Vasquez, but Miss Sophia had a nightmare and is asking for you. The little girl reached for me, hiccuping with sobs. Elena! The bad men got Uncle Dom and you went away forever. My heart melted as I gathered her against me. It was just a dream, sweetheart. Your uncle is fine, and I'm right here. Can I stay with you? Her tear-stained face looked up pleadingly. Just tonight? Mrs. Peterson's expression suggested this was highly irregular, but I found myself nodding. Of course you can. After Mrs. Peterson left, I tucked Sophia beside me in the enormous bed, her small body curling trustingly against mine. Within minutes, she was asleep again, one hand clutching my nightgown as if to prevent my disappearance. I lay awake much longer, watching moonlight track across the ceiling, feeling the weight of choices pressing down on me. Leaving meant abandoning this child to a world of danger and shadows, a world her uncle was clearly fighting to shield her from, at great personal cost. Staying meant risking my heart, my safety, perhaps even my life. Neither option felt right, neither felt wrong. Both felt impossible. Morning came too quickly, sunlight and Sophia's cheerful chatter dragging me from fitful sleep. She bounced on the bed, apparently recovered from her night terrors. Uncle Dom's awake, and he's asking for you. Her excitement was infectious. Mrs. Peterson says we can have breakfast in his room if we're super careful not to spill. The domesticity of the scene that awaited us was jarring. Dominic propped up against pillows, looking better than the night before, though still pale. A breakfast tray across his lap, newspapers and tablets scattered around him. His face softened when Sophia bounded in, but his eyes locked on mine with naked longing that made my chest ache. Good morning, he said quietly. You look better, I offered, helping Sophia settle on the edge of the bed with her plate. Amazing what a night's rest can do. He smiled faintly, though I understand I missed out on having my own bad dream guardian. Sophia nodded earnestly. Elena fixed my nightmare. She's the best at it. I'm sure she is. His gaze never left mine. Sophia Piccola, after breakfast, would you mind if Mrs. Peterson took you to feed the ducks again? I need to speak with Elena alone. The moment of reckoning then. Sophia chatted happily through breakfast, oblivious to the tension between adults, the weight of decisions hovering in the air. When she left with Mrs. Peterson, Dominic set aside his tray, his expression turning serious. Before you give me your answer, he said, there's something you should know. My stomach tightened. Every revelation from Dominic so far had upended my world. What could possibly come next? I'm listening. He reached for a folder on his nightstand, wincing slightly at the movement. After Alessandra died, I started searching for answers, the congenital heart defect that took her life. It didn't appear in any of your family medical records, nor in mine. A chill ran through me. What are you saying? I'm saying it was suspicious, too convenient for my father's purposes. His eyes met mine, dark with old rage, so I had her medical records reviewed by specialists, privately. My legs weakened. I sank into the chair beside his bed. And there were anomalies, inconsistencies in her treatment protocol. He handed me the folder. The technical details are all there, but the conclusion was clear. Medical negligence at best, deliberate malpractice at worst. My hands trembled as I opened the folder, medical terminology swimming before my eyes. Are you suggesting someone deliberately harmed our baby? I'm suggesting my father had influence everywhere, including that hospital. His voice was controlled, but fury simmered beneath. When I confronted him years later, he didn't deny it. Said it was a necessary correction to my misplaced priorities. Horror washed through me in sickening waves. All these years I'd blamed nature's cruelty, had grieved a tragic but natural loss. The possibility that Alessandra's death had been engineered, that those precious 37 minutes had been stolen from us deliberately, was almost too monstrous to comprehend. Why tell me this now? I whispered, closing the folder, unable to bear more details. Because you deserve the whole truth before you decide. He shifted, reaching for my hand. This time I didn't pull away, and because Sophia faces the same threat from the same kinds of people. People who see children as leverage, as weaknesses to be exploited. His fingers tightened around mine. I failed to protect our daughter. I won't fail Sophia, but I can't do it alone, Elena. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. This wasn't just about needing a nanny. This was about creating a fortress around Sophia, physical, emotional, familial. A defense so complete that no one could breach it to harm her as Alessandra had been harmed. You want more than a nanny, I said slowly. You want a partner. Yes. No hesitation, no qualification. In every sense of the word, I pulled my hand back, standing to pace the room. That's insane, Dominic. We haven't seen each other in 5 years. You can't just recruit me into your war. It became your war the moment our daughter died, he said quietly. You just didn't know you were fighting it. The truth of his words struck deep. All my careful rebuilding, my determined forward momentum, had it really been a form of resistance? A refusal to be broken by unseen forces? Even if that's true, I said, you can't expect me to just fall back into your life, your bed. I expect nothing. He cut me off. I'm asking, Elena. Asking you to consider staying, not just for Sophia, but for us. For what we might still build from the ashes. While you continue running a criminal empire? I challenged. How does that work exactly? I've been transitioning the family business to legitimate enterprises since my father died. For the first time, he looked away. It's not complete. There are complications. Resistance. Hence yesterday's disagreement. And if I stayed, would you complete that transition? His eyes returned to mine, blazing with sudden intensity. With you by my side? Without question. The promise hung between us, weighted with possibility. I sank back into the chair, mind racing. I need time to think. This is too much. Of course. He nodded. Take all the time you need, but... He hesitated. Would you consider staying here while you decide? For Sophia's sake, if nothing else? It was manipulation, using the child's attachment to sway me. But it was also truth. Sophia had lost too much already. My abrupt disappearance would be another wound for her young heart. I'll stay for now, I conceded. Not as a commitment to anything more. Just while I think. Relief washed across his features. Thank you. The days that followed settled into an unexpected rhythm. I spent mornings with Sophia, lessons, games, outdoor adventures within the secure perimeter of the estate. Afternoons often found us with Dominic as he recovered, the three of us forming a strangely comfortable unit that felt both foreign and familiar. I watched him with Sophia, patient, attentive, protective without smothering, and glimpsed the father he might have been to our Alessandra. The thought brought both pain and a peculiar healing, like scar tissue finally forming over a wound that had festered too long. Evenings were ours alone, after Sophia was asleep. We talked for hours, about the years apart, about his gradual disillusionment with his father's methods, about my work with children, about grief and resilience, and second chances. We carefully avoided discussing the future, existing instead in a tenuous present that felt increasingly precious. A week passed, then 2. I called the employment agency and arranged an extended leave of absence. Rachel visited once, eyeing Dominic with transparent suspicion that softened slightly when she saw him with Sophia. "He loves that kid," she observed, as we sat by the pool, watching Dominic teach Sophia to float on her back. "And he still looks at you like you hung the moon." "It's complicated," I sighed. "Isn't it always?" She squeezed my hand. "Just be careful, okay? Not just physically, your heart's involved here too." She was right. Despite my best efforts to maintain emotional distance, I was falling again, not for the passionate boy I'd once loved, but for this more complex man, scarred by loss and responsibility, fighting to forge something better from a dark inheritance. October bled into November. The tension that had surrounded the house upon my arrival gradually eased as Dominic's security measures and business maneuvers apparently neutralized immediate threats. He returned to work, though with greater caution and more security than before, and our strange domestic arrangement continued. Then came the night that changed everything. I woke to the sound of breaking glass, instantly alert. A glance at the clock showed 3:17 a.m. For a moment, I lay frozen, telling myself it was nothing, wind perhaps, or an animal outside. Then came muffled shouts, a distant thud. My door flew open. Gabriella stood there, face taut with controlled fear. "Get Sophia, now," and I didn't question, didn't hesitate. In seconds, I was in Sophia's room, gathering her sleep-warm body from her bed, wrapping her in a blanket. She stirred, murmuring questions I didn't answer as I followed Gabriella through a service corridor I hadn't known existed, down into what appeared to be a fortified safe room. "What's happening?" I asked as the heavy door sealed behind us, Sophia now fully awake and trembling in my arms. "Breach in the east wing," Gabriella said tersely, checking security monitors that showed various parts of the house. 3, maybe 4 intruders. Security is engaging. "Dominic?" Fear clutched my heart. "In the study when the alarms went off. He'll hold them off while we—" She broke off as one monitor showed a familiar figure moving with deadly purpose through the hallway outside Sophia's room, gun in hand. "There. He's checking her room first." Seeing Dominic like this, coldly efficient, weapon extended, should have horrified me. Instead, I felt only desperate relief that he was alive, was fighting, was coming for us. "The bad men are here, aren't they?" Sophia whispered against my neck, small body quivering. "Yes, sweetheart," I answered honestly, "but your uncle and his team won't let them hurt you. Or you." Her tear-filled eyes sought reassurance. "They won't hurt you either? Or me," I promised, though I had no right to make such guarantees. We waited in tense silence, Gabriella monitoring the security feeds, Sophia clinging to me like a lifeline. Twice, the feeds showed brief, violent encounters between security personnel and black-clad intruders. I turned Sophia's face away from the screens. It felt like hours, but was perhaps 20 minutes before the communication system crackled to life. "Clear." Dominic's voice taut with controlled fury. 4 neutralized, perimeter secured. Gabriella slumped with relief before responding. "Understood. We're safe. Sophia is unharmed." "Elena?" The question held naked fear. "I'm fine," I answered, leaning toward the microphone. "We're all fine." His exhale was audible. "Stay put. I'll come to you once we've swept the entire property." Dawn was breaking by the time the safe room door opened to reveal Dominic, a cut above his eye the only visible evidence of the night's violence. Sophia flew to him, and he caught her one-armed, his other hand still gripping a weapon he quickly concealed upon seeing her tearful face. "It's over, Piccola," he murmured into her hair. "You're safe." Over his niece's head, his eyes met mine, filled with questions I couldn't answer yet. Was this the final straw? The confirmation that his world was too dangerous, too violent for me to enter willingly? Hours later, after the authorities had been dealt with, discreetly, through channels that clearly operated outside normal law enforcement, after Sophia had finally been settled back to sleep in a guest room closer to Security Central, after the blood had been cleaned from the marble floors, Dominic found me on the balcony of my room. "I'd understand if this is too much," he said without preamble, coming to stand beside me at the railing. "If you want to leave now, I won't try to stop you. I studied his profile in the late morning light, the new cut joining his collection of scars, the stubble darkening his jaw, the weariness etched around his eyes. Is this what life would be like? Constant vigilance, safe rooms, midnight attacks? No. He turned to face me fully. Tonight was a desperate final attempt by former associates who disapproved of my recent business decisions. They miscalculated badly. The cold certainty in his voice sent a shiver through me. I didn't ask what had happened to these associates after they were neutralized. Some questions were better left unasked. This isn't the life I want for Sophia, he continued. Or for us, if there could be an us. I've been working towards something different, something legitimate, something safe. His hands gripped the railing. Tonight proved we're not there yet, but we will be. When? I asked. How long before Sophia can have a normal childhood? Before we could have a normal life? 6 months, he said without hesitation. By then the transition will be complete, irrevocable, the remaining complications resolved. I took a deep breath. And if I stayed? If I committed to this, to you, to Sophia, to building something together? Hope flared in his eyes, quickly tempered with caution. You'd have my word that you and Sophia would be my priority, above business, above family legacy, above everything. Not good enough, I said quietly. I need more than words, Dominic. Name it. A complete break. My voice strengthened with conviction. Not in 6 months. Now. Walk away from all of it. The criminal enterprises, the violence, the vendettas. Keep only what's legitimate, what's clean. Elena. He hesitated. It's not that simple. There are obligations, commitments. There always will be. I cut him off. Unless you choose differently, unless you choose us. For a moment, he was silent. Internal conflict plain on his face. Then, something shifted, hardened into resolve. You're right. You and Sophia deserve better than a life built on compromise and half measures. He took my hands in his. If I choose us, completely, irrevocably, will you stay? Will you help me build something worthy of the daughter we lost? The mention of Alessandra pierced my heart. But not with the old sharp pain, something else now. A bitter-sweet ache, a sense of possibility rising from loss. Yes, I whispered. But not here. Not in this house built on secrets and blood money. Anywhere you want. His fingers tightened around mine. We'll start fresh. New home, new city if you want. Somewhere Sophia can be just a normal child with 2 people who love her. 2 people? I echoed. His smile was tentative, vulnerable in a way that reminded me of the boy he'd once been. I was hoping, in time, we might make it official, be a family, the way we should have been from the beginning. The future unfolded before me, uncertain, challenging, but filled with possibility. A second chance not just for Dominic and me, but for the dreams we'd once shared, the family we'd begun and lost. One day at a time, I said, leaning forward to press my forehead against his. Starting today. His arms came around me, strong and sure, as the morning sun warmed our shoulders. Below us, somewhere in the house, Sophia slept peacefully, unaware that her world was about to change yet again, this time, for the better. One day at a time, we would build something new from the ashes of what we'd lost, something stronger, something lasting, something worthy of the daughter whose brief life had altered ours forever, and of the child who had unexpectedly brought us back together. It wouldn't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever was, but as Dominic's lips found mine in a kiss that tasted of promise and redemption, I knew with sudden clarity that some journeys were worth the struggle, some hearts worth the risk of breaking again. This was our second chance, and this time, we would not waste it.